Part 55. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 541. Ah! The screams in the jungle shook a group of birds, maybe crow's mouth. Even if it was just what they thought, they were lucky this time and fell into a swamp, and their figure standing in the air was blown away by a force pulling down. The vortices below want to swallow them in, and there seems to be a restriction above, preventing them from flying away from the air. Senior, hold me tight, MOU, hurry up. Guyao grabbed this end of the sea with one hand, and the other end stretched out infinitely, wrapping up a giant tree on the edge of the swamp. Chi swung the purple thunder sword, and instantly slashed dozens of swords to jump out of the swamp. The alien beast strikes away. The sea belt is still very powerful. Following the strength of the sea belt, the three of Guyao got rid of the swamp area. The kelp fished out a lot of creatures in the swamp, and each of them bit the kelp with sharp teeth and refused to let go. MOU called out in Guyao's sea of consciousness, "It hurts, it hurts." Guyao and Chi spent a lot of time cleaning up these things, and the sea belt beat them in frustration, smashing them one by one. Su Chen looked at the dark swamp area behind him in horror. He didn't know how many terrible things were hidden in it. Some people seemed to want to run out of it before. What on earth is this place so scary? I don't know, let's go out and take a look first. Guyao looked around and couldn't tell at all. Chi walked in front, guarding Guyao behind. Su Chen also walked beside Guyao, for fear that another terrifying beast would pop out, and at the same time pay attention to his feet. There is a gloomy atmosphere here, and there is no light. Fortunately, they have a very good perception of this cultivation level. After leaving the swamp area, the forbidden space still exists. Guyao boldly guessed, "We will not enter the ruins." Su Chen said, "If this is the case, then luck is not bad." The three of them walked for a long time before they came from the dark place to the lighted place. At this moment, the earth trembled under their feet. The three of them looked at each other and suspected that they were in the ruins at the moment. The tremor at the moment, it is very likely that for some reason, the ruins are about to appear. Guyao's first thought was to release the black cat cub. "Cub, look around and be careful." The cub made two calls and disappeared, and the three of Guyao didn't stand still. If the ruins were to be born, there would be a big wave of cultivators in the next moment. Hurry up and grab the advantage at the last moment is important. As they expected, not only inside the ruins, but also in the debris outside, many monks sensed the tremor and searched for the source. The monk who happened to be near the ruins saw a huge protective shield rising from the ground after a wave of rocks rolled down. Inside the protective shield was a large building. Although many buildings were severely damaged, even the mountain gate collapsed, but it was still possible. From the middle of the gravel, I saw four big characters. Water Moon Immortal Sect. All the monks who saw it were shocked, followed by ecstasy. It goes without saying that this is clearly the site of a sect, and this sect is called Shuiyu, which is also the origin of Shuiyu fragments. After realizing this, the monks rushed towards the ruins. Nonsense. Of course, at this time, we must take the lead. Think about it and know, this is the ruins of Xianzong. Of course, there are also fairy grass, and it is not enough to come to a few fairy world exercises and fairy talismans. Go ahead. Boom. People turned on their backs. The first group of monks who rushed to the ruins were all bounced back by the protective shield. They were far away and regretted the monks who were a few beats behind. They quickly stopped in mid-air, and they were fortunate. Now, they all stood in the air to observe the protective formation, thinking about how to break through the formation and enter the ruins. Watching more and more monks come to the ruins, the monks who arrived first secretly hate that they have no advantage at all, this protective shield. Just as they were cursing the protective shield in their hearts, there seemed to be a sound of glass being shattered in the air. The protective shield turned into light spots and dispersed, blending into the surrounding air. When they realized this, the monks rushed in and rushed in. It looked like dumplings from the sky, as if all the monks from the fragment had come here. At the moment when the protective cover collapsed, the black cat and cub also sent a message, and the three of Guyao found that they could fly again, and the prohibition of the air was invalid. The three quickly rushed to the cub, and the air was forbidden. It doesn't work for them, and it works for others too. The three came to a palace. The cub floated in the air and waved his paws at Guyao. Chi Changjai looked at several rooms of the palace, and said, "We split up, be careful. Even if it is a ruin, I don't know how many years have passed, but it does not mean that there is no danger. Like the swamp just now, there are still a group of alien beasts living in it. Be careful," too, Guyao also sternly said. The three of them were not greedy, and they did not intend to go straight to the Shuiyu sect's main hall, the Sutra Collection Pavilion or the warehouse, but to look for the nearest profitable place. This palace looks like someone's cave, with rooms like the pill room. Guyao jumped into the pill room, and saw the pill furnace placed in the center at a glance. His consciousness cautiously after sweeping it around, I found that there was no problem, and put it away with a wave of my sleeves. There are spirit herbs and medicinal pills on the shelf of the pill room. Unfortunately, as he thought, all of them lost their potency and turned into waste herbs and pills. However, there were a few jade slips and books, which were also rudely taken by Guyao. After taking it away, I didn't even let the futon in front of the Dan stove go. I checked it carefully and went out after I didn't miss anything. After the three of them searched the room here, they moved to the next place. At this time, they could sense that a cultivator came to the ruins, and there was even the sound of fighting. They had better find out when others. The only thing to do is to withdraw as soon as possible to avoid getting involved in this dispute, especially so that those monks can't find out that they came in first. The area where they came seems to be a concentrated residence of disciples. Presumably these disciples are not very high in the sect, otherwise they will have their own hills, but for Guyao and the others, the things found here are also it is enough for them to use, such as a few pieces of thunder ores discovered by Chi Changjai. With these pieces of ores, the purple thunder sword can be upgraded again. Su Chen found an immortal sword, and it was very majestic to play. Guyao found a whip, but he still felt that the whip was very easy to play. In addition, he found some immortal stones and dug up a few half-immortal grass in the yard. The sound of fighting grew louder and louder, and the three quickly flashed away. The ruins of the sect are also big enough. The three of them try to pick up a remote and unmanned place to walk. They don't want to be bumped into. There is some movement. If you listen to them, you can tell that both sides have discovered a treasure at the same time and are fighting each other for the treasure. Ownership. The monks of the entire fragment have come here. At the moment when the protective cover collapsed, the black cat and cub also sent a message, and the three of Guyao found that they could fly again, and the prohibition of the air was invalid. The three quickly rushed to the cub, and the air was forbidden. It doesn't work for them, and it works for others too. The three came to a palace. The cub floated in the air and waved his paws at Guyao. Chi Changjai looked at several rooms of the palace, and said, "We split up, be careful. Even if it is a ruin, I don't know how many years have passed, but it does not mean that there is no danger. Like the swamp just now, there are still a group of alien beasts living in it. Be careful," too, Guyao also sternly said. The three of them were not greedy, and they did not intend to go straight to the Shuiyu sect's main hall, the Sutra Collection Pavilion or the warehouse, but to look for the nearest profitable place. This palace looks like someone's cave, with rooms like the pill room. Guyao jumped into the pill room, and saw the pill furnace placed in the center at a glance. His consciousness cautiously after sweeping it around, I found that there was no problem, and put it away with a wave of my sleeves. There are spirit herbs and medicinal pills on the shelf of the pill room. Unfortunately, as he thought, all of them lost their potency and turned into waste herbs and pills. However, there were a few jade slips and books, which were also rudely taken by Guyao. After taking it away, I didn't even let the futon in front of the Dan stove go. I checked it carefully and went out after I didn't miss anything. After the three of them searched the room here, they moved to the next place. At this time, they could sense that a cultivator came to the ruins, and there was even the sound of fighting. They had better find out when others. The only thing to do is to withdraw as soon as possible to avoid getting involved in this dispute, especially so that those monks can't find out that they came in first. The area where they came seems to be a concentrated residence of disciples. Presumably these disciples are not very high in the sect, otherwise they will have their own hills, but for Guyao and the others, the things found here are also it is enough for them to use, such as a few pieces of thunder ores discovered by Qi Changjai. With these pieces of ores, the purple thunder sword can be upgraded again. Su Chen found an immortal sword, and it was very majestic to play. Guyao found a whip, but he still felt that the whip was very easy to play. In addition, he found some immortal stones and dug up a few half-immortal grass in the yard. The sound of fighting grew louder and louder, and the three quickly flashed away. The ruins of the sect are also big enough. The three of them try to pick up a remote and unmanned place to walk. They don't want to be bumped into. There is some movement. If you listen to them, you can tell that both sides have discovered a treasure at the same time and are fighting each other for the treasure. Ownership. In the weeds, Guyao suddenly stumbled under his feet. Qi Changjai, who was walking in front, hurriedly looked back. Guyao waved his hand, stretched out his hand and groped for something from the grass, an iron ball the size of a baby's fist, in his spirit. Consciousness does not exist. Guyao's toes tripped over the iron ball and it hurt, but he couldn't see what it was from the surface, and there was no time for them to stop and check. Hurry out, I'll put this thing away first. Leave it alone, be careful not to make a big mistake. Qi Changjai was particularly concerned about Guyao's affairs. When they finally got out of the ruins, the three of them breathed a sigh of relief, but when they saw someone coming in front of them, the three of them turned around immediately, seeing that they were coming to the ruins just like the others. Sure enough, the cultivators came over and found out that it was Guyao and the three of them, and greeted them politely. It turned out to be Gu Alchemist and two fellow deists. Are the three also just coming to the ruins of the Shuiyu Immortal sect? Then we must hurry up. A few steps later, the good things inside will be divided up by other monks. Yes, we are too far away, it's too late to come here. Haha, then I'll go first. The three of them simply followed, and the direction they entered the ruins was different from when they came out, but the place they were passing had already been plowed by the first monks, and some building materials had been dismantled and taken away. People looked a little dumbfounded. Guyao and the others didn't have the time to demolish other people's palaces before. Now they find that there are indeed big omissions. Don't look at the ordinary building materials in the fairy world, they may be the spirits that can refine top treasures or even half-immortal objects in the spiritual world. Material. Suddenly, several sword lights shot out in front of them. This sword light was very familiar to the three of them. It's Lihu and the others. Go and have a look. Okay. The three flew over along the sword light, and soon saw the situation there. Lihu and Xia Yuans and Yan Yuanjing were still together, but there were more Mahayana swordsmen. Although their strength increased, they were besieged by several puppets. As soon as he saw this situation, Qi Changjai stepped forward with his sword. Fellow deists, let's help you. After speaking, he joined the battle. When the three of Lihu saw that it was Qi Changjai and the others, they immediately cheered up. Great, with you joining in, these puppets will not be able to show their prestige. Before they thought they would be restrained by a few puppets, and they also got rid of them. No, fortunately, it was a friend who came, and it would be miserable if it were an enemy. Su Chen and Guyao also sacrificed their magic weapon and joined their battle. The cub also jumped out. It seemed to have no weight and fell on one of the puppets. When the puppet was slapped with a paw, the puppet crashed and stood in place. Moved, Su Chen looked at it and said happily, "Okay, little brat, come and show me again." Zai Zai pouted at Su Chen, but Yi Yin ran to take a photo of a puppet. Sure enough, the puppet stopped attacking, and everyone was pleasantly surprised. Lai Hu and the others did not expect that such a difficult puppet that could not be beaten would be easily solved by a black cat. It was destroyed, including the soul imprint left inside. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 542. After the puppet siege was resolved, these puppets were also divided among several people. Not to mention whether these puppets can be repaired, the materials for making these puppets must be the refining materials of the immortal world. If these materials are disassembled and taken out, they will definitely be looted by the craftsman. Therefore, Lei Hu, Xia Yuan's and Yan Yuanjing, including one of Lei Hu's uncles, did not refuse, especially Lei Hu's uncle, who shamelessly put them away. He felt that these materials could be used to make swords after dismantling them. Raise his sword one rank. The Thunder Tigers did not expect to meet with Guyao and the others so soon, and seeing that Guyao was in very good condition, they were looking forward to breaking through and advancing to Mahayana. This is not the place to talk, so everyone will make a long story short. Lei Hu and the others happened to meet Uncle Shi when they were in distress, and they have been acting together since then. After they separated from Guyao, their luck was not as good as before, and the spirit grass was confiscated. In addition to a few strains, they are often targeted by other monks and monsters, and even warlike sword cultivators sometimes have to avoid their edge. After solving these puppets, the group was about to enter the palace guarded by the puppets. At this moment, an astonishing amount of energy exploded not far away. Several people quickly lifted off to check and saw a violent collision of energy in the center of the ruins. Immediately afterwards, several figures flashed out, and it was impossible to tell how many people there were, and the fighting situation was very intense. Xia Yuans glanced at it and knew, there is the direction of the main hall of the Shui Yuxian zone. When we first entered, we found that there were several people heading towards the main hall. Judging from this situation, we should have found something good. Right now, the loot is not evenly distributed. The three of Guyao looked at each other. The monks at the center of the fight were either late Mahayana or peak Mahayana. One of them was the guy who blocked their way and robbed them before. This kind of fight was not something they could interfere with, so they were fighting for the items they were fighting for. No matter how interested, I didn't rush to check it out. On the other hand, the other monks who were disturbed found that the wave of spiritual energy there was the most violent. At first glance, they knew that it was caused by a good thing. Going out there is the direction of the main hall, which is likely to be the location of the Xian Zone warehouse, which led to more and more cultivators flying there, and even cultivators appeared. Is there really the location of the warehouse? There are still a lot of treasures in the warehouse of Shui Yuxian Zone. Lei Hu was also a little excited when he heard it. The warehouse of a sect is definitely very rich. Let's wait and see for a while. I always feel that things are not that simple, Xia Yuan said calmly. Guyao frowned slightly. I don't know why, I have a bad feeling. I think it's better for us to leave first. Then let's go, Qi Changjai agreed with Guyao without any principle. Of course, Su Chen also acted with them. 1 or 2 treasures in the fairy world are enough for them. Too much will not only be useless, but also become a scourge, attracting the scrutiny of other monks. Lei Hu's uncle didn't agree. He felt that Guyao was a little timid, and Qi Changjai was too assertive, but seeing that Lei Hu and the others followed Guyao and flew out without hesitation, he had to shake his head. He also kept up, not to mention other things, he had to ensure the safety of the 3 Thunder Tigers in the debris. Just after flying for a while, Guyao's premonition is getting stronger and stronger, and he is busy speeding up. Hurry up. Contrary to the direction of the cultivators who kept coming to the main hall of Waste-EU, many cultivators looked at them with astonishment, but some cultivators found out that it was Guyao and his party, so they did not continue to move forward cautiously, but left with Guyao and his party. Before flying out of the ruins of Xianzhong, a violent explosion suddenly sounded from behind, and the air wave that was set off in an instant pushed Guyao and his party out far away, not to mention the cultivator who was impacted at close range, and the air wave behind him was heavy than a heavy, like a huge wave in the sea. People are like small boats in the huge waves, and there is a danger of overturning at any time. Following this force, the group finally flew out of the area of the ruins. At this time, they dared to turn around to see what was going on behind them. As a result, they saw an astonishing scene. A huge mushroom cloud was raised above the ruins. That is, the main hall of Xianzhong. All the original buildings are gone, and only a dark hole remains. The hole is like the black hole Guyao once saw in the interstellar world, swallowing all the objects that are close to it. And the scope of engulfment continues to expand. Qi Changai's pupils shrank suddenly, because he saw the air waves and the black hole around. The space became unstable, and this instability is constantly intensifying. It is very likely that even the space will collapse in the end. We'd better get out of the debris, the space here will be unstable, and it won't be too late to come in if calm can be restored. I sensed it too, we'd better withdraw first. This time, Liu's uncle didn't think Guyao and the others were timid. If they stayed in place just now, they might not be able to get rid of the sucking force of the black hole in time. At that moment, he sensed a great danger coming, and he has not been able to get rid of this sense until now. The group took out the fastest speed and flew out. An unknown cultivator saw them running away, thinking that there was some danger behind them, so they joined their team. The strangest thing was that when Guyao and the others were rushing out, I met many monsters on the road, and I was trying my best. He ran out of the ground, and he used to fight when he saw the monks, but now he turned a blind eye to them, and only cared about himself on his way. The team is getting more and more spectacular, and there are more and more monks who don't know why. But soon they felt something wrong with the space in the debris, they seemed to be much more fragile than before, and they also sensed the danger that came to them. The few calamity transcending powers who stayed outside suddenly came out of the invisible void and looked at the space door. It's not right. Something has changed in the debris. The space of the water and moon debris is no longer stable. If this trend continues, it will collapse soon. At this time, there were still people who wanted to go into the debris, and Liao Su appeared in front of the space door. All the monks stepped back, and the Shuiyu debris is about to collapse. If you don't want to die, stay away. Everyone shoots together, and this space door is also affected. Influence. Okay, Sword Demon responded immediately. I'm coming too. These tribulation masters will come here because their forces also have their children in. At this time, to stabilize the space gate is to buy a little more time for the monks who stay in the debris, even if necessary. If you break into the debris, it will collapse, and adding more of them will not produce worse results. The roar of the monster gradually came out. It turned out that the monk, who was a little resentful because he was blocked into the fragments, also changed his face at this time. It turned out that Master Su and the others were not deceiving everyone, but what really happened in the water and moon fragments. Something went wrong. At this time, there was no need for Master Su and the others to persuade them, and they all quickly retreated far away, so as not to be affected by getting too close. And they have speculated about what happened in the fragment, causing the fragment to collapse, so the monks in the spiritual world will have one less place to go, and some monks regret not going into the fragment sooner. Maybe they can take advantage of this last. A chance to make a fortune. The first to rush to the space gate were the monsters in the debris, especially the birds. As a result, some broke out, and some hit the space wall, making them dizzy. These monsters roared again and again, and even desperately attacking the space wall, because if they stay inside and can't get out, they have only one way to die. Even if they don't awaken much wisdom, they still have the instinct to survive. The face changed. These monsters and birds couldn't come out. It made no difference to him, but if they couldn't come out, in addition to attacking the space wall, they would also attack the monks who wanted to come out later. Suchinkit's still inside. You hold on, I'll transfer these evil beasts out. Lai Su let go, and other monks immediately took over. Lai Su sacrificed the Red Lotus Karma this time, and used the Red Lotus Karma to open another space channel on the space door. At the same time, a message was sent to those who wanted to live. In the mind of the beast and bird, enter this space passage if you want to survive. The normally surly beasts and birds are extremely obedient at this moment, and they crowded into the space passage. There was even a stampede incident, but this has nothing to do with the virtual. The bounded space increases the load. When Guyao and his party flew near the space gate, they saw those monsters and birds vying to fly to another space channel. They didn't exist before. After a little thought, they could guess what the reason was. The voice of urgency was also sent into their ears, and they just glanced over there and plunged into the space door. Seeing Su Chen and Guyao coming out together, Liao Su breathed a sigh of relief, but he did not withdraw his power and was still maintaining the space channel. Su Chen briefly described the situation inside and the source of the accident to Su. The other tribulation masters were also shocked. They could sense the fluctuations in the debris before, and they had guessed it to some extent. The ruins of Huixianzong appeared in the world. I thought it was a great opportunity for the monks inside, but I didn't expect that it would be destroyed after this world. The collapse of the fragmented space was very fast. It didn't take long for Guyao and the others to sense the aura of destruction coming from the outside. It was as if the end was coming and it was suffocating. They could clearly see the faces of the cultivators who were fleeing. Showing a look of panic, even a cultivator at the peak of Mahayana could not avoid this mentality, and the beasts and birds roared in terror. Just after another wave of cultivators escaped from the space gate, Guyao and the others were horrified to hear a loud noise inside. The entire fragmented space collapsed into countless small fragments, and some fragments flew towards the spiritual world. At that moment, some cultivators thought that they would not be able to escape in time, and their lives would be over, but they saw several tribulation masters take action, rolled up their sleeves, and each rolled up a group of cultivators, and threw the spirit world with their backhands. The monks were dizzy, but when they fell out, they wept with joy. Those monsters and birds couldn't care less. Ren Yan and the others were swallowed up by the cracks in the space, and Su Chen and his party were pushed far away. He and several other great powers who were at the peak of the calamity escaped into the void and wanted to save them. For a moment, because you can see that there are still monks alive in the collapsed debris, but this life is also short-lived. At this time, they can save as many people as they can. No matter how much more, they are equally powerless. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 543. The collapse of the Shuiya fragment shocked the entire spiritual world, but most people's attention is that from now on, the spiritual world monks will lose another excellent training site. As for how many monks were swallowed by the collapsed black hole this time, then it was quickly ignored by everyone. At most, I feel sorry for those monks who stayed at the peak of Mahayana. It is not easy to practice, and I fell at this last moment. The deepest memory is estimated to belong to this wave of monks who escaped from death, especially those who were rescued from the turbulent void by the great master of tribulation after the fragment collapsed, thinking that they would almost become dust in the turbulent space. When it's time, Suetal's shots are tantamount to gods descending to earth. According to unreliable statistics, 7 or 8 out of 10 monks who entered the Shuiya fragment refinery died this time. When he heard the result, Guyao took a deep breath. If it weren't for the ruins of the Shuiya Xianzong, some monks attracted the past, and it is estimated that the death rate is not so high. Su Chen smiled and said, "Things are not as bad as you think. Yes, this time the opening of the Shuiya fragment has killed a lot of people, many of them are Mahayana monks, they can be regarded as the pillars of the spiritual world, but so what? Look at it, the monks who came out of the shard this time will have good news soon, and the things they brought out are enough for their cultivation base to advance a lot." In other words, the Shuiya fragment harvested a group of Mahayana monks, but because of the Shuiya fragment, the spiritual world will create another group of Mahayana monks, enough to fill this gap. Guyao took a long sigh, knowing that Su Chen was telling the truth, but time and time again, he had seen the cruelty and ruthlessness of the journey of self-cultivation. When the black hole collapsed, the lives of hundreds of monks were swallowed up in the blink of an eye. There is no chance to struggle at all, and the monks who have been thousands or even thousands of years are destroyed in one fell swoop. Su Chen added, although a lot of Mahayana monks died, there are also Mahayana monks who survived. Maybe after several decades and hundreds of years, some of this group of Mahayana monks have advanced to the tribulation transcendence period, and there are those who have survived. The cultivator Ji has also gained some gains from this accident. The Shuiya fragment has collapsed, and the benefits to the spiritual world far outweigh the disadvantages. Guyao knew that Su Chen was telling the truth. At that time, a group of monks at the peak of the tribulation were rescued to save the lives of the monks, and those monks in the early and middle stages of the tribulation took the opportunity to capture the small fragments after the collapse. Space is very beneficial, and destruction is often accompanied by new life. After returning from the shard, Qi Changjai and the others all went to retreat, absorbing the gains of this training. Guyao was not long after he was promoted, and there were a lot of things in the Dan League, so he did not retreat with Qi Changjai. Compared with other forces, the loss of the Dan Alliance is not too big. Not long after the first batch of cultivators entered, some people fled in embarrassment. Compared with other cultivators, the alchemist's combat power was a bit worse, and the monsters in the fragments were stronger. After his own death, after these people brought out the situation inside, many alchemists in the Alchemy Alliance were much more cautious, either narrowing the scope of their activities or teaming up with other cultivators to enter the debris. But also because of the death of the monster and the lack of time to escape, the Alchemy Alliance still lost some manpower, especially the two elders of the Mahayana period were not able to come out. In addition, a lot of rare spirit grasses were brought out from the fragments, and many monks from various states came to ask for pills, including Guyao, who also took several orders to refine second-grade pills. Of course, for the Alchemy Alliance, the gain is still greater than the loss. In order to ensure the release of alchemy, a large part of the spirit grass collected from the fragments flowed into the Lingzhou Alchemy Alliance. The elders in the Alchemy Alliance were very excited. With high-quality spirit grass, their alchemy skills can also be improved, so the entire Alchemy Alliance is busy. Guyao asked Zi Baobao to set up a special place in the Pill Pavilion space to plant these spiritual grasses from the fragments, which is not a small scale. And Zi Baobao also told him a good thing: thanks to this part of the spiritual grass, the spiritual energy in the space has been improved, whether it is for the spiritual grass that grows in it or the people who will practice in the space, it is great. Beneficial. Guyao understands that whether it is the spiritual energy in the fragments or these spiritual grasses, they are all degenerated from immortal grass and immortal energy. Even if they degenerate, the quality is still higher than that of the spiritual world. He used these spiritual grasses to refine them. The quality of the medicine pill is also higher than usual. Guyao used the monster corpses he brought out of the fragments to refine the flesh and blood essence, and refined a kind of blood essence pill. He and Su Chen learned several pills together. The growth of spiritual power is secondary, both of them felt that to the surging qi and blood in the body, and the tempering of the flesh. What makes them most happy is that this essence and blood pill is not a one-time use, and it will not have much effect in the future, but can be accumulated continuously. These two people suffer from the same disease, and the catastrophe is more violent than that of ordinary monks. If you increase your physical strength, how can you confidently deal with the next catastrophe? Not only essence and blood pills, but also during the more than 100 years of Guyao's retreat in the pill pavilion cultivation space, he also came up with several kinds of medicinal pills that are beneficial to tempering the body and improving the strength based on the decoction and other materials used for refining the body, many of which require the essence of monster flesh and blood. After refining a blood essence pill and fully absorbing the medicinal power, Guyao got up and stretched his muscles and bones. He could hear the sound of blood flowing in the blood vessels and the snapping sound of the joints rubbing against each other. This batch of monster corpses arrived very timely. I just came out of the retreat room, and a staff member came to report, the leader, Daoist Yinhua and Daoist Zhou who have come from Bizhu, and they are at the moment. Wait in the palace. Uncle? Uncle actually came over. I'll go right now. As soon as he thought about it, he found his uncle and Zhou. At this time, Guyao realized that there were several messages in the messenger. Uncle, is there something urgent? As soon as the thought moved, Guyao disappeared from one end and appeared on the other end, that is, outside the resting place of Yinhua and Zhou. As soon as the breath was released, the people inside were alarmed. Yinhua pushed open the door and came out, and when he saw the people outside, he immediately laughed, "Xiaoao, you're out of quarantine, this time is so short." Guyao walked over and hugged his uncle, then nodded to Zhou and explained, "It's not a retreat, it's just refining a single medicinal pill. I have been digesting the medicinal power of the medicinal pill these days, and I have prepared it for my uncle and fellow Taoist Zhou. Could it be that uncle has figured it out this time, and wants to come here for a long stay? No, I have something to do with you. After we finish talking, we should go back. Neither he nor I know how to make alchemy. What are we doing here?" Yinhua felt that it was useless to stay here, so he should not hold back his nephew. "This time there happened to be a Jianpai came to invite you to concoct alchemy, so we hitched a ride. Otherwise, based on the strength of the two of them, they would not dare to go on the road alone, and would have informed Guyao in another way." When he heard the news of the collapse of the Shuiya fragment, Yinhua was also taken aback, for fear that his nephew would be in danger. Although he didn't sense any signs before, but he didn't get news from his nephew, he still couldn't rest assured. Fortunately everything was safe. The three of them recounted their experiences of separation. On the way, Yinhua learned that Guyao, Qi Changjai and Su Chen were blocked and robbed by a shameless monk at the peak of Mahayana. With the crackling talisman, he escaped the catastrophe, and then no one knows where he was. "How is that shameless old guy now?" Yin Huiyan asked with gnashing teeth. Guyao smiled, "That fellow Taoist didn't come out. We saw it with our own eyes. In fact, we have cut the beard from him twice." Guyao talked about the chance he got twice because of this Mahayana peak monk. Once he discovered a medicine garden and harvested a lot of precious spirit grass and half-immortal grass, and once because he was transported into the ruins of Xianzhong, but a false alarm. Listening to Guyao's remarks, Zhou raised his eyebrows without hesitation. As expected, he was very lucky. Compared with him, the Mahayana monk was unlucky. "When I got home, I left my life behind in the end." Guyao thought about it afterwards. If it wasn't for the sky-splitting talisman who sent them into the ruins by accident, when they entered from the outside like other monks, they would definitely be stared at by many monks. Even if they found something good, they may also fall into a fight. When the Xianzhong collapsed, they did not know if they had the luck to avoid it early. The space-splitting talisman in that kind of place would not work at all, but it would be more dangerous. Yinhua smiled brightly. Compared with him, his nephew's luck is indeed very good, and he can often turn crisis into safety and opportunity. The unease that dream brought to him also made him calm. Thinking like this, he took out the jade slip and stuffed it into his nephew's hand. Look at what's inside. Guyao guessed that it had something to do with his uncle coming to Lingzhou specially. His expression became serious, his divine sense probed in, and his expression changed in a short period of time. The ones he'd seen before were not the same, but they felt a little familiar. By the way, he remembered it. The familiarity came from the books he scavenged from the ruins of Xianzhong. He read it roughly. Among them, there was a diary like an essay written by a monk himself. In the past battle, the object of the battle seems to be somewhat similar to this beast. Uncle, could it be that this is what my uncle saw? Guyao knew what was special about his uncle. Yinhua nodded, yes, it may be a scene that will happen at a certain time in the future. My uncle suspects that some kind of beast from an unknown space has invaded the spiritual world. Of course, my uncle just called the police for you in advance. Although you are Dan Alliance leader, but this kind of thing doesn't require you to charge and kill the enemy, just stay behind and refine pills. Yinhua's temperament is much more selfish, but he doesn't like to take everything on himself like his nephew. Now he is pushed to the position of the leader of the Dan League. Although he is honored, he also knows what happens to the spiritual world. He, the leader of the alliance, couldn't get away from the incident. It really broke his uncle's heart, and he came all the way to report to him. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 544. Yinhua's intention was to forward this news to Master Su through Guyao, especially knowing the role of Master Su's sword demon and other peak transcending tribulation powers in the collapse of the Shuiya fragment. He knew that this news was only correct. These powers can act as vigilance. Perhaps it is not necessary for him to say, these great powers have a feeling somewhere. Liao Su was still dealing with the remnants of the Shuiya fragment. When he received the message from Su Chen, he raised his brows slightly, found Sword Demon and others in the void, and relayed the matter to them. Guyao was able to find the essays left by the monks in the ruins of Xianzhong. These great masters who have lived for an unknown number of years have a rich collection. Fairy Baihen used to be famous in the spiritual world and was known for her beauty. However, one misfortune caused her appearance to be destroyed. Since then, she has many opportunities to restore her former appearance. Scar's face climbed to the peak of the spiritual world. Although the combat power is incomparable to monks like Suhi Sword Demon, the first-hand water spell is also quite amazing. Fairy Baihen has a very good reputation among female cultivators and has countless admirers. A book appeared in her hand, and she opened the page and said, there is indeed such a strange beast in the fairyland, they come from the void, so they named Void Beast or Void Immortal Beast. This void beast often appears in the fairy world, but there is no guarantee that it will not appear in our spiritual world, because hundreds of thousands of years ago, the spiritual world had encountered the invasion of some alien beasts. All kinds of evidence can be proved that these alien beasts are void beasts. Liao Su and others all saw the portrait of this kind of void beast on the page. It was covered with thick scales and armor, so it was difficult for swords and spears to penetrate. No makes them feel very tricky. Fairy Baihen turned out the second book. If my memory is not wrong, this book comes from the original Shuiya fragment. This book records the Shuiya Xianzhong in the fairy world, which was destroyed in a void. In the beast invasion accident, the sword demon grasped the sword in his hand, and his eyes were sharp. If they dare to come, they will be beaten back. Fairy Baihen glanced at the fighting maniac helplessly. It depends on how many void beasts invade the spiritual world. If there are too many, you and I can stop it? I didn't expect my spiritual world to be in a troubled autumn recently. Not long after the crisis of the invasion was resolved, the void beast came again. They had a bad feeling in the first place, and when the news was sent, it was basically certain that it was the sense of crisis that this thing brought them. Lixo folded his hands together, proclaimed the Buddha's name, and said, "Perhaps this time is not the danger of my spiritual world. Do you think the devil world can escape?" "What does the master mean?" Fairy Baihen's eyes showed surprise. Liao Su said, "After this matter, maybe I should go to the devil world." "All right, Master Yu Lao has worked hard." Fairy Baihen has always had a very good impression of Su, and it's not that they want to rush ahead in everything, but they haven't soared yet. Influence, hard work for many years, all the way to the top is not easy. If at the last minute, if you miss a move, there is no place to regret it. So I can only work hard as a laborer in the spiritual world, and run wherever there is danger." Liao Su squinted his eyes and smiled, and said, "Don't worry too much. According to the poor monk's calculation, we still have some time to prepare," and the water moon fragment was opened in time, and the spirit grass half fairy grass flowing out of the fragment, as well as those semi-immortal artifacts and immortal artifacts, they will all come in handy, and Ling Zhou has undergone another rectification. He said and looked at the sky. Fairy Baihen and others also showed helplessness. "Does this mean that Tiandao will give you a slap and give you a few sweet dates? Crisis is coming, so let's bring some benefits first. It really makes me cry." Guyao cultivated when it was time to practice, and when it was time to concoct pills, it seemed that the news sent by his uncle did not have much impact on him. "In fact, I have experienced a lot of things, so what can I worry about? It's better to be prepared and be calm when the time comes. The interstellar world is like the invasion of the Zerg, and the world of comprehension is the same when it is faced with the invasion of alien beasts." He sent the medicinal pills that he had researched to enhance the strength of the physical body to the Dan Alliance, but he also found that there were not many elders who were interested, very few. The simplified version of the soul refining method that came out. Of course, this is not due to him alone. He discussed it with Su Chen before, and then summed it up on the basis of the cultivation experience left by Dan Xian. Dan Xian also has a lot of experience in soul refinement. Guyao is learning to absorb the basics. In addition, he has also deepened his understanding of the soul refining method. The simplified version of soul refinement is in the middle of soul refinement and spiritual alchemy, which greatly reduces the difficulty and threshold of soul refinement. When Qi Changjai left the customs, 2 more alchemy alliances were added to the spiritual world, and everything seemed so vibrant. There are also good news coming from the outside world. As Su Chen said before, the spiritual world has ushered in a wave of promotion, which cultivator has broken through the heavenly tribulation again, and which loose cultivator has successfully advanced. Just when Guyao couldn't figure out the iron ball he brought out of the ruins, he and Qi Changjai received a message at the same time, and the two looked at each other and checked at the same time. Yeah, it was sent by Lihu. His master is about to break through the calamity. He asked us if we wanted to go and watch it. Qi Changjai received the same message, and the two were not surprised at all. Originally, the Alchemy Alliance helped his master to refine a pot of elixir. Later, in the water and moon fragments, it was impossible for Fengelji and Zhuang to have no harvest. External conditions, coupled with Master Leihu's own years of practice and accumulation, this step is a matter of course. Qi Changjai immediately replied, "How could such an opportunity be missed? If not for a good relationship with Fengelji and Zhuang, they would not be able to be invited here." Guyao said to the elders in the Dan League, and went to Bizhu with Qi Changjai, where he could also visit his uncle and Zhou. Guyao and Qi Changjai left, and the elders in the Presbyterian church looked at the direction of Bizhu with great envy in their hearts. Lei Broken Cloud has finally come this far. I don't know when we will have this opportunity. When Lei Suiyun broke out due to an old injury, his cultivation base declined. At that time, all the monks in the spiritual world thought that he would never have the opportunity to advance to the tribulation transcendence in his life. Adding another tribulation sword cultivator, the strength will increase greatly. Our luck is not bad. After all these years, everyone's cultivation has not been stagnant. That's right, let's discuss the alchemy technique we mentioned last time. The elders quickly put aside trivial matters and devoted themselves to alchemy. Fenglai Jianzhuang was beaming with joy because the elder Lei Xiaoyun was about to cross the tribulation. Jianzhuang was full of confidence from top to bottom. Fenglai Jianzhuang would soon add a new elder, so the disciples felt honored to walk in. All the way up the road. When Gu Yao and Qi Changjai arrived, Lei Hu personally came to pick them up. Lei Hu himself laughed so hard that he couldn't see his teeth and took them all the way to the place where they were preparing to cross the calamity. Basically the same as the North State. When Gu Yao and Qi Changjai arrived, the cultivators who arrived first greeted them one after another. The status of these two in Bizhu cannot be said to be more important. Qi Changjai's swordsmanship and fighting strength are admired by Bizhu Jiangzihu, while Gu Yao's Dan the technique is equally popular, and more importantly, Gu Yao's combat power in the Shuiyu fragment is not bad, and such an alchemist will win their favor even more. Brother Qi, alchemist Gu Xiaoyuans came over to greet them. After everyone came out of the debris, they went back to their respective homes. They spent most of these years in seclusion. Now they meet again at Fenglai Jianzhuang. They are very happy, the most happy. What's more, everyone's cultivation base has risen a lot. Gu Yao saw Jiangzihu in the middle surrounded by layers of formations. Although he was sitting cross-legged, he felt like a sword, but the sword was erratic. Obviously, Lai Hu's master and his path were different. Is more windy. The elder Tai's Hang of Fenglai Jianzhuang personally protected Lei Suiyun. When the robbery cloud was condensed in the sky, Lei Suiyun stood up and looked up into the sky. Facing the terrifying power of heaven and earth, he was like a man in the wind. Like bamboo, despite the strong winds and rains, I stand still. Thunder robbery roared, and like most sword cultivators, Lei Hu's master, Du Ji, also relied on a sword. The sword in Jianjiu's hand could slash the clouds of robbery up and the demons down. The thunder robbery continued to blast for half a month before dissipating, and the sky was raining. Taking the place of the body and transcending a calamity by oneself becomes a calamity transcending power, which means that it is one step closer to ascending to the immortal realm. The goal of their cultivation is not to pursue longevity and ascend to the immortal world. The master of Jianzhuang and the elder Tai's Hang were also delighted to hear each other, and asked the disciples of Zhuangzhong to warmly entertain the guests. Gu Yao found himself surrounded by enthusiastic monks. He felt that the eyes of these monks looked at him more than before the calamity. When Lai Hu came over to clear their doubts, Lai Hu laughed, "I know those guys are envious of me, because I can make friends with you, the ancient alchemist. They thought I didn't know that they all looked at my master to death before. I thought that my master could not become the great power of transcending the tribulation, but now my master has survived the calamity, and among them, Gu alchemist, you have the greatest contribution, so they also want to learn from my thunder tiger, haha." Gu Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The medicine pill is only an external cause, and the self-cultivation is not enough, and it is useless to forcefully transcend the tribulation. From the performance of the senior when he crossed the calamity, we know that the senior has a profound cultivation base and becomes a calamity master sooner or later. Lei Hu waved his hand. Gu Yao is too modest. Although the medicinal pill is an external cause, it is an indispensable part for the master. Without this link, nothing can be done. By the way, my master tell me before the calamity and let me stay with you for a while. Master wants to see you, especially brother Qi. Okay, then thank you very much. Gu Yao was happy for Qi Changjai. He was also a sword cultivator. Master Lei Hu's breakthrough experience was very precious to Qi Changjai. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 545. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai stayed at Fenglai Jian village for a while, and were warmly welcomed by the owner and the top and bottom of the village. It didn't take long for Lai Hu's master to leave the customs, and Qi Changjai and Gu Yao got close contact with this newcomer. Sword repair. Because the robbery has just passed, the sword energy surging all over the body has not been completely restrained. Fortunately, both of them are Mahayana monks, otherwise they would not be able to resist the radiation of these sword energy. Although Lei Suiyun is a sturdy sword cultivator, his appearance is different from his apprentice. He looks very gentle. He can be said to be a gentleman in the sword, but if he can teach an apprentice like Lei Hu, Qi Changjai will definitely not believe him. The character is the same as the appearance. Lei Suiyun was indeed grateful to the husband and wife. No one else had seen him, but he had seen both of them first. In the early years, not only the outside world, but also himself had almost cut off the thought of advancing to the tribulation crossing. But now not only has the problem of medicinal pills been resolved, but the old wounds in his body have also healed. He has also successfully crossed the tribulation and improved his cultivation to a higher level. It is not unthinkable that he will ascend to the immortal realm in the future. He can't help Gu Yao very much, so he wants to give back to Qi Changjai, a sword cultivator, and Qi Changjai is a friend of his disciple, so he will share the experience of impacting the transcendence period and transcending the calamity with his feelings. Qi Changjai said in detail, "This is a very valuable experience for Qi Changjai, and these experiences are often only given to disciples by teachers and apprentices, and he is very grateful for the dedication of Senior Lei Suiyun." So Gu Yao stayed by the side as a guest. During the period, Lei Suiyun also instructed Qi Changjai in swordsmanship. This guidance lasted for half a month before the two came out of Lei Suiyun's cave, and Lei Hu waiting outside, he split his mouth when he saw them. After staying in Bezhu for a period of time, the two returned to Lingzhou Dangxian city. Life seemed to be the same as usual. It was either retreating or practicing swordsmanship and alchemy. Of course, there is also Su Chen from Xiaozhou. In fact, the two of them are incidental. Of course, the two of them are extremely grateful. So the two of them lived a very fulfilling life. For a while, the three of them were thrown into a dangerous place. Until the critical moment, Liao Su would never rescue them, and then they were thrown into a polar area while fighting against the alien beasts in the polar area. While using the polar environment to practice and even train the body, they came quietly, and quietly sent the two of them and Su Chen back, so the elders of the Dan Alliance didn't know their movements, thinking that they had been staying in the Dangxian's residence to retreat and cultivate. Seeing them go out, they were surprised to find that their cultivation had risen again. Once the number of times increased, they became numb, and they attributed this to their excellent cultivation talents. In fact, it's not just emptiness. If the monks in the spiritual world pay more attention to the various forces, they will find that the first-class forces have increased the supervision of their respective disciples, and they should focus on cultivating a group of talented people regardless of the investment of resources. Disciples, sometimes Gu Yao and Qi Changjai. They will be thrown into the same place as these cultivators, and there will be competition and sparring with each other. It is precisely because of the impending crisis that Li Sukai should help Su Chen improve his cultivation as much as possible and increase his self-protection ability. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai have very different meanings to Su Chen, so they take care of them together. It is probably the key. At that time, he may not be able to take care of Su Chen, and he will have to rely on Gu Yao and Qi Changjai to take care of Su Chen. A vain and well-intentioned. The Alchemy Alliance also opened various trial venues to increase the training of alchemists. The alchemy field in wartime was more important. Gu Yao did not elaborate, but the elders of the elders also felt that a storm was coming. The situation, the operation of the entire Dan League organization has also become very efficient. In just a few decades, the development of the spiritual world, including the Alchemy Alliance, has been equal to hundreds of years in the past, and the various resources from the Shuiya fragments are also rapidly being transformed into the strength of the spiritual world monks, although occasionally there are bad news came out, such as which small force was slaughtered overnight by unknown forces, and a fairy weapon they got from the debris disappeared. Hearing such news, everyone knew that this was a sin, and the immortal artifact obtained attracted the red eyes of others. Unless the stolen immortal artifact shows up by himself, it will be difficult to find the murderer in such a short period of time, and most of them will be left unresolved in the end. With such news, Guyao carefully refined the immortal weapon whip in his hand. Although this whip was called binding immortal cable, Guyao felt that it was better to use it for whipping people. However, with Guyao's strength, it is very difficult to completely sacrifice and command such as an arm. Immortals can only be used at critical moments. On the other hand, after Qi Changjai integrated a few pieces of thunder ores into his purple thunder sword, the quality of the purple thunder sword has improved a lot, and there are faint signs of becoming a semi-immortal weapon, so the magic weapon is still the best for you. After the tying of the immortal rope, the remote will focus on developing the function of the yin-yang mirror and maximize it. In the void at the junction of the spiritual world and the demon world, the top powerhouses of the two worlds gathered together. Such a scene would never be seen at ordinary times. Even a cultivator with a wide-eyed vision would not be able to sit down and talk peacefully. However, just as Fairy Baihen and the others thought, not only did they sense the dangers facing the spiritual world, but also the powerful demons in the demon world also had an ominous premonition until Su, the Red Lotus Demon Venerable, visited the demon world again. Only when they mentioned the matter of the void immortal beasts did they realize that the previously unknown premonition was brought about by these void immortal beasts. The disputes between the two worlds are put aside for now, and the key is to work together to overcome this disaster. For the void beast, there is no division between the spiritual world and the demon world. Are there food? Some demon venerables in the demon realm had a very complicated feeling towards Su. When the Red Lotus Demon Venerable disappeared in the demon realm, they also vaguely guessed that this guy was not a real demon realm cultivator. When Su Zhe used the Red Lotus karmic fire in the spirit realm, the identity is even spread among the demon lords of the demon realm, which can make them gnashing their teeth in hatred, but they are helpless. If they make a move, it will cause a full-scale war between the two realms. Now it is even more necessary to let go of the old grievances and work together. These demons who have acted recklessly in the past feel extremely aggrieved this time. The grey-robed demon venerable looked at Su, and then looked at the demon venerables. In this way, we will act according to our agreement. If the void beast appears and agree to the outside world, whoever does not abide by the agreement between our two realms will be punished by both of us. The world's joint pursuit and killing, I hope you will treasure it. This restriction is mainly for the demon venerable to listen to. It does not rule out that when foreign enemies invade, some people want to fish in troubled waters and only care about themselves. Don't worry, old guy, whoever dares to stick a knife behind his back, first ask me about the hammer in the hands of the old devil. A powerful demon venerable waved the hammer in his hand and said with a fierce look on his face. An extremely enchanting and charming female demon venerable, she gave a wink to the grey-robed demon venerable and Master Liao Su. It's about the survival of the devil world, and we devil cultivators can't tell right from wrong, but Red Lotus Demon Venerable, you really don't want to go back to our demon world? Our demon world is much more enlightened than your spiritual world. You pull it down, you can seduce anyone who can't seduce this guy. This guy is a famous lover, lest if he doesn't seduce him, he will first provoke the Red Lotus industry to set you on fire. Bah! Don't you think that the Red Lotus Demon Venerable is on the side of our demon realm to strengthen our demon realm? I am making sacrifices for our entire demon realm. Fairy Baihen and the others couldn't listen to them. They glanced at Su sympathetically, said goodbye to the grey-clothed demon venerable and others, and disappeared into the void. Liao Su also glanced at the female devil. Also turned and plunged into the void. The demon head trembled, but she felt a threat from that look, but she still said, "It's really an uninteresting guy." "No, this guy came from a monk in the spiritual world, isn't he in the spiritual world? Are the monks so fresh and delicious?" As he spoke, he licked his red lips, and his appearance seemed to be not only the idea of the monk's skin, but also his flesh and blood. "Okay, let's go back as well." The grey-robed demon Venerable also gave her a faint warning. In a small town in a remote location in Nanzhou, the monks gathered together in twos and threes to chat, and they were talking about the recent breakthrough of a monk from a nearby section. Although the combined monk is not a big deal in the entire spiritual world, it is a local. There is a big event, so the local monks are very enthusiastic. "I heard that the senior has been to the Shuiya fragment and brought a fairy grass from the fragment. It is only by virtue of the fairy grass that he can break through and advance." "Yes, I also heard from a distant relative that he is a disciple of Fi'iemen. I heard that the elder was relatively close to the exit at that time, and he almost couldn't get out. I heard that many monks died that time. Even the Mahayana monks have died quite a bit. That's really lucky, Mahayana monk. I don't even dare to think about it. I will be very satisfied when I can become a cultivator." Everyone was talking happily when suddenly there was a storm of darkness and sand and rocks, and the monks couldn't open their eyes. It seemed that the whole world was disturbed by the supernatural powers. The monks were also flustered, but they had no idea what happened. A cultivator thought about going out to check if something had happened outside. As soon as he left the town, a cultivator fled here in embarrassment and shouted, "No, Fi'ia gate is destroyed." Fi'ia the gate was completely destroyed. A group of fierce beasts suddenly appeared in the air, and the entire mountain gate of the half-feather gate was destroyed, and those disciples could not escape. How is that possible? Didn't Fi'iemen just have an elder breakthrough to become a cultivator? Could it be that the enemy who came here is of Mahayana strength? Everyone just talked about the envy of Fi'iemen. How could they be destroyed in such a short period of time? And they are relatively close here, why haven't they heard anything? They take it for granted that they want to destroy Fi'iemen, but there is a lot of movement, at least it should last for a while. Suddenly someone looked at the sky in horror and shouted, "Look, what is that?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 546. The monks, who were still discussing the destruction of Fi'iemen and couldn't believe it, turned around and saw a scene that shocked them. The sky was torn apart by a pair of sharp claws, and a terrifyingly shaped beast jumped out of it. The beast's eyes flashed red, and with a flick of its thick tail, it rushed towards the cultivator below, and the town screamed in agony. The monk who escaped Fi'iemen saw these terrifying beasts and exclaimed, "It's them! It's them who destroyed Fi'iemen! Run!" Somewhere in the void, Suetal suddenly twitched, stretched out his hand and pinched his fingers. "No! That thing is here! It's in the direction of Nanzhou." Liao Su immediately cut through the space, got in with one head, and went to Nanzhou to check the situation. Several great experts followed him in, to see how sacred this beast that can invade the fairyland is. Guyao, who was making pills, suddenly became unstable, and a pot of pills was rarely fried. He shook his head, got up and walked out. It happened that Qi Changjai also came in from outside, saw Guyao's expression, and said, "Xiao Yao, did you sense it too?" Guyao nodded, "There is a disturbing force coming, I'm afraid that thing is finally here." Qi Changjai took Guyao's hand, "Don't worry, we will always be together." Guyao smiled, "Yes, no matter how difficult it is, they will always fight side by side." Compared with the previous life, he has actually lived for many years, and he is accompanied by his lover. In the wider world, he doesn't feel any regrets anymore. "Yes, we will be together, let's go to Danmen." As soon as he arrived at the Pill Alliance, Guyao received a message from Master Su, and he found the first invasion site in Nanzhou. Guyao summoned the Qi Elder Council and announced that Nanzhou would enter a state of battle from this moment, and sent a cultivator guard to strengthen patrols day and night. Once a foreign enemy was found to be invading, the alarm would be sounded immediately, and the protective formation of Dangxian City would also enter the open state at any time. Immediately mobilize a large number of spirit stones. The elders couldn't believe it at first, but as Guyao released the image passed by Master Su, everyone was shocked. Now, without Guyao's order, they consciously carried out Guyao's arrangement, and the entire alchemy alliance quickly into combat readiness. Of course, these news must be publicized to all the monks. Fortunately, after a catastrophe, the monks did not panic. Even if there were doubts at first, news came from all directions to Dangxian City, not only Nanzhou, but also many others. The state discovered that alien beasts invaded the town and destroyed it. No one can deceive themselves and say that everything is a lie. The spiritual world is indeed facing a situation of foreign invasion. Pill Immortal City and Lingzhou are united unprecedentedly, and the leaders of the Pill Alliance have become more powerful after these years of operation. Every order has been well executed. There are often patrolling monks passing by in the air, even if some the cultivators who wanted to take advantage of the chaos and robbery were also unable to achieve their goals. The reason why the monks in Dan Immortal City calmed down faster than other places and followed the Dan Alliance closely was their confidence in the great defense formation left by Dan Immortal. This great formation once saved everyone's life from danger. Once, this great formation will also play a vital role. Some monks even decided that once there were not enough spirit stones to keep the formation running, they would donate their own spirit stones spontaneously to help each other to tide over the difficulties. The alchemists also put aside their previous views and differences, and responded to the call of the Alchemy Alliance to hurry up to make alchemy. Dan fire swirling Dan Xiang bursts can be seen everywhere. Guyao also refines pills one after another, either healing pills or pills to restore spiritual power, and then pills to improve cultivation. These kinds of pills are most in demand during wartime, and pills from the Pill Alliance are in high demand. Together with the medicine, a special person escorted to the front line where the battle was the most intense. Even if the alchemist who does not agree with Guyao, his heart is still everything in the past, Lingzhou alchemists should be high above, enjoy the pursuit of the monks, and have not surrendered their status, but at this moment, it seems that most people are twisted into one. The strands, energy and spirit have reached an unprecedented height. This emotion is very infectious to people, and it spreads quickly, even if they are inevitably affected a little. This state doesn't seem to be that bad either, and it's another kind of spiritual satisfaction. Guyao and Qi Changjai stood above the Dan Immortal Relics mansion, looking at the endless sky. Guyao worried, "I'm afraid that this time the city protection formation may not be able to achieve the effect of the last time. The best thing those void beasts are good at is tearing." Split space. There are more and more images passed over and photo-taking stones sent by the business firm. The scene of the void beast tearing the space is terrifying. The space may be torn so easily. In addition, their bodies are extremely tyrannical. Can the spiritual world cultivator really resist the invasion of the void beast? Qi Changjai grabbed Guyao's shoulders. Even if the great defense array can protect the monks, it can only work together, and in the end, the monks themselves have to drive these void beasts out, so we only have one way, that is to pick up weapons and void beasts. Fortunately, we are not the place where the first wave of void beasts attacked us. With the information obtained from various ruins, plus the experience summed up when the front line fought with void beasts are not completely invincible. They also have various weaknesses, and this is where our monks can take advantage. Guyao nodded, "Yes, you are right. All kinds of information are gathered here, and the Alchemy Alliance will immediately summarize and distribute it, and publicize it. They have indeed done what they can do." The two sat on the top of the tallest tower in the euphorious night. The most beautiful night sky in the past made the monks extremely jealous, because at some point, a void beast would tear through the sky and descend from the sky. The harm these void beasts bring to the monks in the spiritual world is far greater than the erosion of demonic insects and demonic energy. Compared with these void beasts, the monks' bodies are so fragile that they are easily torn apart by the void beast's claws. When it was about to dawn, a meteor pierced the starry sky, and the two felt a palpitating feeling in their hearts at the same time, and stood up abruptly. The next moment they saw the exact same scene as in the image. Open a rip. Before the void beast jumped out, the two of them activated the siren that rang throughout Lingzhou, and the void beast invaded. Whether they were sleeping or cultivating in meditation, they were all awakened by the sound of the alarm, and they rushed out of their residences, only to see black dots falling down in the sky. No, it's the void beast. The void beast attacked our Lingzhou. The Great Defense Array. What about the Great Defense Array? At the same time as the alarm sounded, Guyao activated the Great Formation for protecting the city, and the 6 guards of the city were shrouded in it. As early as when the void beast invaded the spiritual world, the monks who lived outside the city and the 6 guards responded to Dan Immortal City's call. They moved in. At this time, they stayed in the defense formation, widening their eyes and looking at the black spots that were getting closer and closer, until they could see their true colors, and their hideous features made them gasp. After the defense formation was activated, the team arranged by the Dandan Alliance quickly came out to fight, and the elders also sent distress signals to the monks in other states. Of course, many monks were arranged to guard the city of Dangxian, and other places can be lost, but the significance of Dan Xiancheng is very important. It was incomparable. Among them, the Jiangxiu stationed here in Bazhu was led by Lei Hu and Xia Yuans. After the success of thunder-shattered cloud crossing tribulation, the two of them also entered the retreat one after another, and soon after they both broke through to be promoted to Mahayana monks. According to the data and actual combat experience, they also know that the void beast is also graded. The most powerful void beast at present was killed by several top-level transcending tribulation experts. If not, I don't know how many places in the spiritual world will be killed by this. Only void beast destroyed. This void beast is the heavenly rank. Below the heavenly rank there are the earth rank and the ordinary rank. Each rank is divided into 3 different strength levels: primary, intermediate, and advanced. Earth level high level void beasts, and only those with this strength have the ability to tear through space. Therefore, Qi Changjai kept staring at the sky and did not rush into battle, because this void beast is the greatest threat to the defense formation. No matter how long the city protection formation can last, the longer it can last, the better. Give the monks in the city more time to adapt. A group of monks gathered around Qi Changjai. Their purpose was the same as Qi Changjai, waiting for Qi Changjai to issue an order to fight. Thousands of void beasts jumped out of the crack, and the void beast to which the pair of claws belonged slowly emerged from the void. Its body was larger than those of the void beasts in front of it, and the scales on its body were extremely dark. Flickering cold light, those blood-colored eyes were full of bloodthirsty aura. Follow me to meet the enemy. With a sword in hand, Qi Changjai glanced back at Guyao, then turned into a meteor and swept out, and other sword cultivators rang out one after another, and flew towards the earth-level high-level void beast together. Elder Xiang and the others were also paying attention to the battle situation outside. Even though they had made sufficient preparations, there were still monks being torn apart by the void beast from time to time, and blood dripped down, causing the monks in the formation to see their eyes red and full of anger. There are more monks out of town to meet. Elder Xiang and the others flew to Guyao's side. They also knew the consequences of not stopping the tiger and the sky beast. They hoped that Qi Changjai, the most powerful sword cultivators, could stop it. Don't worry, Lord, the rescue will come soon, and our Supreme Elder is ready to fight at any time. The Taizhang elders of the Alchemy Alliance are usually in retreat, but at this time they are also out. Even if they are not known for their combat power, they are tribulation cultivators in the end, and no matter how weak they are stronger than Mahayana cultivators. Yeah, the leader of the alliance, Daiochi, is amazing in strength and progresses very fast. Now he is in the late stage of Mahayana cultivation, but his combat power is about to catch up with the monks. In the sky, the battle situation was the most intense in Chi-Chang-Jai, which attracted many cultivators to watch nervously. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 547. The purple thunder dragon danced and roared in the air, causing great obstruction to the sky-level void beast. But Chi-Chang-Jai and the others also felt a lot of pressure. Judging from the situation of the fight, this void beast should have become a heaven rank not long ago, so the combat power is between the peak of Mahayana and the early days of tribulation. The reason why they can hold back, it is also entirely due to the low intelligence of this void beast. It only relies on the instinct of the beast to fight. Although it has thick skin and rough flesh, it does not understand tactics, and it does not know how to make a weak enemy strong. Chi-Chang-Jai even integrated the space laws he had comprehended into swordsmanship, and only he could leave sword marks on this void beast to cause damage to it. The pressure caused by the void beast to these sword cultivators is not small, but pressure can also become a driving force. These sword cultivators are not willing to admit defeat, and the more they fight, the more tenacious. This fight lasted a day and a night. After the initial casualties, the monks in Dangxian city gradually adapted to the fighting methods of these void beasts. With the cooperation of the monks in the formation, once there was an injured person, a monk rushed out to replace them. Let the wounded enter the formation to heal, so the casualties of the monks are greatly reduced. Relying on the tactics of the sea, the black spots above the protection formation are constantly decreasing. When the heavenly void beast discovered the situation on their side, it became more and more anxious. It made an inexplicable roar from its mouth, and its sharp claws shot at Chi-Chang-Jai and the others. At this moment, a mallet fell from the sky and slammed on the head of the sky-level void beast, and there was a scolding sound, "Beast, don't be arrogant." Chi-Chang-Jai quickly retreated. He was too familiar with this hammer. It was Master Su who rushed over. No matter how powerful the sky beast was, it could not be the opponent of Master Su. Sure enough, as soon as the mallet was knocked down, Chi-Chang-Jai and the others heard the sound of clicking cracking, and the cracks spread quickly like a spider web in the hard shell that Chi-Chang-Jai couldn't penetrate. With another bang, the entire head of the sky-level void beast was knocked into the brain. The void beast waved in the direction of Chi-Chang-Jai, "Take it back and let Xiaoao and the others study it." This scale armor is also an excellent material. "Okay, thank you Master." Chi-Chang-Jai was not polite, and waved the corpse of a giant beast into the storage ring. There have been news from many places that the corpses of these void beasts are also very useful. The function of their flesh and beast cores has not yet been studied, but the shell scale armor is an excellent material for refining tools and aircraft, especially refining the crafted aircraft has a very strong defense. If this heaven-level void beast is sold, the price will be very high. After Su Li stood in mid-air and looked up, Chi-Chang-Jai and the other sword cultivators walked over to salute him, and when they saw Su Wei frowning, they also fixed their eyes, and sure enough, they saw a few abnormalities in the space. Like a thin film there is a point of strength in the back, so there is a bulge in the front. Needless to say, there are void beasts behind these spaces. Chi-Chang-Jai thought of the previous roar of the sky-level void beast, and guessed, "Master, could it be that the void beast was gathering its accomplices?" Ligzu nodded, "Yes, this is their special way of conveying information. Now I don't know what kind of information they convey. These void beasts say that they don't have much intelligence, but they mustn't underestimate their instincts. Go down and adjust your breath, I'll stay here for the time being." "Okay, Thank you, Master. Several people fought for a day and a night, exhausted, and said goodbye to Master Su. On the way back, Lei Hu and others were very excited, but they rarely saw the scene of a false shot. The strength of the two hammers just now made them very excited. The Master is really powerful, and that's why the Master is so good. A hammer. It can crack the head of the sky-level void beast. Only after fighting these void beasts did I know that their skins were solid, and the strength to break them was not ordinary. At this time, the void beast in the sky has been wiped out, and a wave of foreign enemies has been killed. The monks in Dangxian City are still very excited, especially when Su appears. They can easily deal with the extremely ferocious void beast, which is greatly encouraged. But not long after, another monk screamed in horror, and the bumps on the sky became more and more obvious, until they were torn apart by a pair of claws, and a pair of blood-filled savage human-devouring beast eyes poked out from the cracks. The companion who was called by the void beast. I waited for them to emerge, and when I saw this, I smashed my fist and said, "Naughty beast, go back." Just when everyone thought that another wave of void beasts was coming, the crack that was torn in the air shrank back, the sky swayed for a while, and calmed down again, and everyone realized that there was a false alarm. However, the temporary calm was brought by Master Su. Without Su to beat the void beast back, the second wave of attacks would started. It seems to realize that there is a powerful monk like Su here. The void beast behind the sky is gradually receding, and the crisis in Dangxian City is temporarily lifted. Of course, the guards organized by the Dan Alliance have not relaxed their patrols, unless the entire spirit world declares that the crisis is lifted. That's how you can really relax. Liao Su also disappeared in mid-air and went straight to the Pill Immortal Relic Mansion. Su Chen did not participate in the battle and spent most of his time refining pills. When he saw Su, he asked, "Retired?" Liao Su sighed and said, "It's just a temporary retreat, and now the reason for these void beasts suddenly appearing in the spirit world has not been found out. They have been staying outside the spirit world, and there are follow-up void beasts coming, a few of us. I have observed it from a distance and found that there are a few breaths in it that are very amazing. Even if we go all out, I am afraid it will be difficult to stop. I have some doubts. These void beasts escaped from the immortal realm. They are at the bottom of the immortal realm, but it is a catastrophe for our spirit realm." Su Chen frowned when he heard it. If the amazing void beasts that Li Su mentioned appeared, the monks at the peak of the tribulation would definitely step forward to stop them. It is impossible not to go, but they can go. Even if they are cultivators at the peak of transcending tribulation, they are only one step away from ascension, but they will still be in danger, not immortal. Isn't there anyone who escaped from the fairy world? No one in the fairy world found out? Don't you care about the safety of our spiritual world? It would be bad for our spiritual world to be destroyed in the fairy world. Touching his chin, he said, "According to my speculation, there may be more than one spiritual world under the fairy world, so." Unfinished meaning Su Chen. I also guessed it, that is to say, destroying a spiritual world is not a big loss to the fairy world, and it may be that the fairy world is overcrowded. Destroying a spiritual world can also reduce the burden of the fairy world, so when I think about it, my face turns black. Lian Su smiled and said, "Maybe the fairy world hasn't reacted, or the whereabouts of these void beasts have not been found, or it may not be a simple matter to come to our spiritual world from the fairy world. Otherwise, why the spiritual world has not the news of the immortal lower realm spreads? If it is so easy to come and go, wouldn't the spiritual realm be in chaos? Those monks who ascended from the spiritual world have never returned from the immortal world. If it is so easy, it is impossible not to take care of their sect disciples in the lower world. Hopefully, you have to be more careful. I don't have the patience to wait for you for 10,000 years in case you have anything to do with it," Su Chen threatened. "Don't worry, I won't," Lu Su said in his heart, and he was reluctant to let Chen Chen wait for him for 10,000 years. Those days were too lonely and lonely. In this battle, not only Chi Chang'ai and the others, but also the other monks who participated in the battle gained something. Reinforcement teams of monks from other states also arrived one after another. The Dan League provided a place for placement. The monks who led the team learned that Master Su was here, and inevitably came to ask for a meeting, and Liao Su also encouraged him. It's just that these peaceful days only lasted for 5 days. On the night of the 5th day, the alarm sounded over Dangxian city again, and the void beast attacked again. The virtual judgment is correct. These void beasts don't seem to have much intelligence, which does not mean that they can be scared away. Moreover, after being intercepted by the void last time, this time they have increased the breakthrough, and the sky has been torn apart in many places. The black spots that kept emerging from the cracks in the sky, like a heavy black cloud shrouded the monk's heart. This wave of attacks was far worse than the first time. Guyao and Chi Chang'ai also looked at them with heavy hearts. 5 places were torn apart in the sky, which meant that there were at least 5 heaven-level void beasts. If Master Su was not here, this wave of attacks would have destroyed the city defense formation. If they couldn't hold it any longer, the monks in the city would be torn into rivers of blood by these void beasts. Go to battle. Yes, go to battle. Let these evil beasts come and go. Guyao glanced at it and turned back. He, Su Chen and several other elders had been studying these void beast corpses before, wanting to know how their energy accumulation works, and how to make the best use of these corpses. And use these findings to turn against the void beast. No one is perfunctory, even if their positions are different, they know what the common enemy they are facing at the moment is. There are heated debates, but everyone has the same goal. At first glance, the cultivation method of the void beast is similar to that of the monster beast. The monster beast forms an inner core in the body, and the void beast has a beast core. However, when they fight, they completely rely on their physical strength. The energy in the beast core seems to be converted into the power of the flesh. Similar to a body cultivator. By the way, one of the reinforcements this time is a team of trainers from the wasteland. Among them, the powerful trainers can fight with the void beast with their bare hands, which is a force that cannot be ignored. Has changed. After countless adjustments to the pill recipe, there was finally a batch of medicinal pills in the pill furnace in front of Guyao. The elders also found pill testers, and the monsters captured from outside were used to test pills. Effect of medicine. After the monster swallowed the medicine pill, including Guyao, the consciousness was paying attention to the changes of the medicine pill in the monster beast's body. The spiritual world outside is facing even greater danger. A more powerful void beast descended over a first-class sect, and in the end, only a few monks escaped, including the Taizhang elders during the tribulation period. 2 cultivators with filthy temperament came out of the space passage, and one of them frowned. The environment in this lower realm is too bad, those void beasts really came here. Transmigration, First-Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 548. The other person looked up at the sky. The bad environment is secondary, the space here has a lot of pressure on our cultivation, this is troublesome, but those void beasts should also be suppressed, this kind of low-level space it's just trouble. Then what do we do now? The monk in the white brocade asked, slightly unhappy. The monk in the blue robe looked at the surrounding environment and said, not only are we here, but Chanki Zionman has also sent people down. We have to finish the task ahead of them. Ask the local monk first. The biggest force here is which sect? Let's start from there. All right, listen to you, let's go. I found a monk ahead. The white-robed monk pointed in a direction. The figures of the 2 disappeared immediately, and the space passage behind disappeared, and no cultivator found the situation here. At the same time, a space passage also appeared in another place, and the same 2 monks walked out from it. The 2 exchanged and disappeared. When Void knocked back the 5 void beasts that had torn apart the cracks, the number of void beasts in the sky above Dangxian City far exceeded the first wave. From the bottom, I only felt that there were dense black dots in the sky above, plus the number of void beasts playing in the battle. The cultivator blocked the light from the sky, making the atmosphere even more depressing. Blood spilled from time to time, and some children who were brought out by their parents couldn't help crying, and their parents covered their mouths. "Don't cry, the seniors are working hard to drive away those demons, let those demons break in, and we will all be eaten by them. The baby must practice well, and in the future, he will also go to the battlefield to kill those demons. Okay, baby is going to learn from the seniors, baby is not afraid anymore." Liao Su couldn't take into account the following situation at all, and still stared at the void, because he sensed an astonishing breath getting closer. He hurriedly explained a sentence to the elder who was protecting the city below, then cut through the space and stepped in. "The elders of the Dan League will take turns to guard the big formation and dispatch the team. This day, the elder Xiang is here." The monk next to him suddenly disappeared when he saw Su, and hurriedly asked, "Where did Master Li Su go?" Elder Xiang frowned. Master Lixu noticed that a powerful void beast was coming, and he wanted to block the void beast out. Elder Xiang, it's not good." A cultivator ran over and brought a message to the Dan League. A first-class sect in Dongzhou was destroyed by the void beast, and Dongzhou fell into chaos. "What?" Elder Xiang was startled. "Isn't the first-class sect have Senior Duji in charge?" The elders in the tribulation period were also unable to escape. The cultivator who came to report also turned pale and dared not imagine the situation in Dongzhou. From this point of view, the situation in Lingzhou was considered good. Xiang elder suddenly looked at the direction where Void disappeared. The previous heaven-level Void Beast did not let Master Void be so cautious. Could it be that this Void Beast that is about to appear is more powerful? Is it the same as the Void Beast that destroyed the first-class sect of Dongzhou? If there are a few more, can Lingzhou be able to resist it? If the formation breaks, where will they go in Lingzhou? Squeeze the elder's fist. Success. In the Alchemy Alliance, the surrounding alchemists cheered. The monster that swallowed the medicinal pill was in very good condition. According to preliminary estimates, the physical strength has increased by a small rank. Not to mention, the strength of the body refining cultivator will be greatly increased. Even these cultivators, after increasing the strength of their physical bodies, will greatly increase their resistance to the pair of iron claws of the void beast. There are many cultivators who are directly confronted, and before they can react, they are crushed by the claws of the void beast to blast the defensive magic weapon, and then tear their bodies apart. Guyao and Su Chen looked at each other and smiled. Their efforts finally came to fruition, and their hearts were somewhat relieved. Guyao said, "I hope it will help the monks in the states by spreading the pill recipes to the states. At the same time, we will also refine the collected animal cores into pills as soon as possible, and publish the effects of the pills." "Okay, listen to the leader, we'll do it now." At this time, no one could think of hiding or using this pill for profit, so they turned around and took action. All kinds of auxiliary materials were sent to the Alchemy Alliance. Because the energy contained in the core of the void beast is too violent, auxiliary drugs are needed to neutralize it. Guyao and Su Chen opened the furnace together and demonstrated it to other alchemists several times. After several misses, everyone's success rate became higher and higher, and batches of medicinal pills were released and sent out. This batch of researched new medicinal pills is named Void Body Tempering Pill. According to the level of the void beast, it is also divided into earth grade and heaven grade. The cultivator understands where the material of this medicinal pill comes from and what it is. Effect. When the alchemist staff explained the use of the medicinal pill, the body refining cultivator first used the hunted void beast to exchange the medicinal pill and took it on the spot. One step, it is more difficult for a body cultivator to advance than a spiritual power cultivator. I didn't expect that not long after taking this medicinal pill, there were signs of tribulation clouds condensing in the air, and the monks next to him cheered. The formation will not affect the calamity, and the safety of the tribulation in the formation is more guaranteed. This phenomenon stimulated many cultivators present, whether they were training the body or cultivating spiritual power, to exchange their own materials for medicinal pills, giving priority to the corpse of the void beast, which also encouraged the cultivator to fight against the void beast. This also makes other pills that quench the body and enhance the strength of the physical body launched by the Dan League become popular. When Chi Chang-ai returned to the formation to adjust his breath again, Guyao also handed him a top-grade void body tempering pill at the ground level. Chi Chang-ai took it without hesitation. After digesting the medicinal power, he clearly felt the benefits of this elixir are like stimulating and massaging every cell in the body. Guyao handed the whole bottle to him. The efficacy of this medicinal pill will be reduced by half for the second time, until the fifth one completely loses its effect, but the accumulation has also improved a lot the void body tempering pill. In addition, I will try to refine the void beast's blood essence pill. The mortal level void body quenching pill has no effect on him, let alone Chi Chang-ai, but after taking the earth level and heaven level pills, Chi Chang-ai's refining experience will enter a new stage, depending on the physical body of those void beasts. The tyrannical can tear the space by hand, so it can be seen that the effect of these medicinal pills will not be too bad. Chi Chang-ai hugged Guyao. Don't worry too much, you should pay attention to rest, you have also taken time to take this medicine pill. I understand, I'm much safer here than you. Guyao nodded and watched Chi Chang-ai off again, although he wanted to be with Chi Chang-ai. Coming out to fight side by side, but at this moment, he can play a greater role in front of the alchemy furnace, and he can help more monks to improve their combat power. Guyao, who returned to the pill room, also took out an earth-level void body tempering pill and swallowed it, running the body refinement technique to absorb the medicinal power in the pill. In the void, Liao Su and a void beast confronted each other, and no one took the lead. I tried to communicate with this void beast. This is not the battlefield of void beast, where should they go back and forth? This higher level void beast is obviously a bit more conscious and rational than the previous ones, but it only gave a low roar to the virtual temptation, and obviously did not want to retreat. The persuasion was ineffective. There was only one way to do it. The sword light flashed, and the sword demon also appeared beside Su, and he was summoned by Su urgently. The sword demon drew out his sword, his eyes full of fighting intent. Come on, if you want to enter the spiritual world, you must first ask the difference between the sword in my hand. He said that he went up with the sword, and Liao Su assisted from the side. If it wasn't for this void beast's strength, the sword demon would never want to be interfered by others. Although the sword demon is a sword idiot, it is not that he does not know how to adapt. Two cultivators suddenly appeared above the big city guarding the formation, holding curious eyes on the formation and commenting. This great formation is not bad, its defensive power is about to catch up with the Immortal formation, of course it is the lowest level Immortal formation. Another cultivator said disdainfully, it's just a half Immortal formation at best. It's still spiritual power that keeps the big formation running, and using the half immortal gives enough face, so I directly called the person in charge of the big formation out to ask. I heard that this is a Dan city, but not all alchemists inside and outside the formation. This Dan city is quite popular. If there are really a lot of alchemists gathered here, it is natural to be protected by all parties at this time. Even in our fairyland, the protection of alchemists in wartime is the first priority, and elixir is extremely important in wartime. Resources. Well, we don't have to call people out, there are people over there. Elder Xiang saw that two cultivators suddenly descended on the top of the defense formation. At first, he thought it was a helping hand from someone, but when his spiritual sense reached out, he could not sense their existence at all. Elder Xiang immediately broke out in a cold sweat, while voice transmission to Guyao and other elders, and flew over in person. He thought to himself, could it be the Great Tribulation Transcendents who practiced in hiding somewhere? Was alerted by this catastrophe and came out to check the situation? The two of them looked high and clean, and even the eyes they looked at themselves seemed to be looking at an ant. Even if Elder Xiang felt unhappy in his heart, he would not show it on his face. He was in the formation, and the two were outside the formation, and they respectfully saluted to the elder. I don't know where the two seniors come from, and what are the important things in Immortal City. Behind the two is the aerial battlefield of the monk and the void beast. Against this background, the expressions of the two are too indifferent. One of the monks raised his chin slightly and said, "So weak, are you the person in charge here?" Elder Xiang couldn't figure out the identity of the person who came, and replied, "Xiang Mao is a member of the city's Pill Alliance Elder Council. The person in charge of the city is the leader of our Pill Alliance, and this city is left by the senior Pill Immortal who ascended to the immortal realm. The leader of the alliance is the descendant of Senior Dangxian." Pill Immortal, the visitor sneered disapprovingly. What kind of alchemist would dare to call himself a Pill Immortal? It is just this kind of low-level space that will sit in the well and watch the sky blindly and arrogantly, flying to the immortal realm. In the immortal realm, a monk like this is just the lowest level immortal. I don't know when they will die in various accidents. Tell you lies, the two of us are it is from the immortal realm, and we have the immortal token for you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 549. When Guyao received the sound transmission, he came out of the pill room, and halfway through the flight, he received a sound transmission to the elders, "The immortal world is coming." He looked at the two unfamiliar figures in the air, his eyes narrowed slightly. He also knew what Su Chen was talking about with Master Su. He didn't expect that immortal realm would send someone down, but the arrogant attitude of these two people, such a noble immortal realm messenger, I'm afraid it's not easy to serve. I think that the monks in the Qinhao continent didn't look down on the monks in the Tianlin continent, and regarded them as the in the wild land. There were other elders who accompanied Guyao out and said worriedly, "The leader, is it really the messenger of the fairy world? Can the monks from the fairy world really come to our spiritual world? It's unheard of in the past. Are they really here to help us solve the void beast? We want to. What kind of attitude do you use to treat these fairyland messengers?" Guyao sighed in his heart and said, "Let's listen to their intentions first. They are seniors from the immortal realm, and they came on behalf of the immortal realm. Our attitude should not be sloppy. When you can't figure out the other party's intentions, just confess the other party." At this moment, the two people in the sky smiled inexplicably, then turned around and cut through the space and walked in. Guyao saw that his pupils shrank slightly. Is this to give them a slap in the face? Qi Changjai flew to Guyao's side, with a strong smell of blood on his body, most of which came from the void beast, and the two monks who suddenly arrived naturally caught his attention, and he came back quickly after eliminating one void beast. Su Chen also came out from the back. They all looked at the void. When they reached the Mahayana cultivation base, they could sense the movement in the void. After a while, they could detect that the fighting there became fierce. In the battle, two more fairyland messengers were added. Soon the void beast was killed by the two fairyland messengers. No matter how hard the shell and scales were, it was no match for the fairy weapons in their hands. Elder Xiang and the others quickly judged the identities of these two people. After all, he had already reached the peak of the spiritual world, and he was walking in both the demon world and the spiritual world. He was more familiar with energy than other cultivators. The energy used is obviously higher than spiritual power and magic power, and the lethality is even more amazing. The magic power in his body is on the verge of transformation. Going a step further, After a qualitative breakthrough occurs, it will be similar to the energy used by the other party, so these two people can only come from one place, that is the fairyland. Other monks may be very excited when they see the immortals. The monks have practiced for thousands of years and tens of thousands of years, not just to go to the immortal world. Now they can see the immortals who are living their goals. However, Liangsu is more cautious. So much, he doesn't think that the messenger of the fairy world will be wholeheartedly for the sake of the spirit world, and it is the embodiment of truth, goodness, and beauty. The Guyao and his party in the formation did not wait long. Soon, the space crack above appeared again. First, the two immortal world messengers came out first, and the second person was holding a behemoth in his hand. The beast was a bigger beast, but the two monks didn't get a trace of fighting anger. Finally, it was Li Su and the sword demon who came out, and the crack closed behind him. The movement here has long attracted countless cultivators to watch, and they have been discussing the identity of these two people. Now it is shocking to see this scene. That void beast, looking at its body shape, estimates that its strength is in the middle level of heaven, and it may even be high level in heaven. Yeah, Master Lixu and Senior Sword Demon will enter the void. It must be to deal with this void beast, otherwise it will be dangerous to let it break into our great formation. The strength of these two people is no longer Master Su and Sword. Under the Demon Senior. That's the messenger of the fairy world, and it's the fairy order from the fairy world. I just heard the conversation between the two messengers and the elder Xiang. One person next to him excitedly explained to others, the void beast was clearly beheaded by the messenger of the fairy world. Once they go to the void beast, there is still a chance to survive. Is it really the messenger of the fairyland? Is the messenger of the fairyland here to help us fight off the void beast? That's great. I actually saw the envoy from the fairy world come down to the realm one day. No wonder I think these two seniors are so immortal. When Guyao opened the defense formation and invited the two envoys to enter and rest, the news of Dangxian City had already spread. Especially the guards sent by various forces in Dangxian City sent the news back as soon as possible. Their respective factions. The messenger of the immortal world? Really immortal? That's great, our spiritual world is saved. Are we going to rush to Dangxian City to meet the two senior immortals? Will the two senior immortals feel that we are being lazy if we go late? There are also doubts, only two fairy world messengers? Are there no follow-up fairy world monks coming to the lower world? How many void beasts can only two people kill? Where do we have the extra manpower to go to Dangxian City to meet the messenger of the fairy world? The most urgent task is to expel the void beast from our spiritual world as soon as possible. Guyao welcomed the immortal into the headquarters of the Pill Alliance, and handed over the right to speak to Master Su and Senior Sword Demon. Whatever agreement the senior reached with these two messengers, they will implement it without hesitation. The conduct of these two seniors is absolutely passable. However, the two immortal envoys were not very satisfied with Su and Sword Demon. Actually, both of them were demon cultivators. Even in the immortal world, there are still differences and disputes between the immortal way and the demon way. This alliance leader is becoming more and more disdainful. This alliance leader, they can press it to death with one finger. Although dissatisfied, the immortal order still has to be conveyed. The two reported to their families, "We are here on behalf of Xianhuan Palace, from the 7-star immortal sect under the Xianhuan Palace. You can't imagine what kind of power Xianhuan Palace is, but we only say that we are under the jurisdiction of the 7-star Xian Zone. The scope is much larger than your entire spiritual world." Some people gasped when they heard it. Just a 7-star immortal sect under the jurisdiction of Xianhuan Palace, with such a big power. How big the power of Xianhuan Palace is indeed beyond their imagination. Just these simple words, it gives birth to infinite yearning. The two of them looked very proud of the expressions of these people. How could these know the power of the great immortal palace in the immortal realm, and the Chanqi Gate also belonged to the Xianhua Palace? so they had to finish this matter before the Chanqi Gate in order to get the reward of Xianhuan Palace, and to improve the status of himself and the sect in Xianhuan Palace. It's not easy for us to come to your spiritual world. We need the Immortal Emperor to open the passage. We won't be able to stay here for too long, so you must cooperate with our actions. This is an order from Xianhuan Palace, you all follow. Liao Su and Jian Mo glanced at each other, got up together and respectfully received the order. Immortal Ling is a token of introverted flow of light. As soon as it enters the hands of the two, a vague figure appears in their minds at the same time, and the voice from that figure is shocking. Void beasts are a serious problem in the world of cultivation, and now I will send an envoy to help you kill the beasts of the void, and restore the peace of the world. You will take orders. Su and the sword demon were shocked, and replied, I will wait for the help of the immortals to kill the void beast, and restore the peace of the world. The two of them pulled away from this picture with lingering fears in their eyes. The owner of the blurry figure and voice in this picture must be a very powerful monk in the immortal world, even if they are monks standing at the peak of the spiritual world. In front of this cultivator, there is also a feeling of being out of touch. In addition to the heart palpitations, a strong fighting spirit also arises. The powerful monks also start from the weak. No monks are born on the top of the peak. Just like them, they only reach the peak of the spiritual world step by step, and wait for the future. Ascension to the immortal realm, such existence is their goal. The two immortal envoys of the Seven Stars Immortal sect looked at the two with a strange look in their eyes. Of course, they would not be kind enough to explain it to the two, but they didn't expect them to wake up from the immortal order so quickly, even if they received it. The immortal orders of Xianhuan Palace are often deterred by that immortal threat. Guyao and other cultivators also heard this voice, but because it was not a direct contact, the feeling was not as profound as Su and them, but they were all shocked, which also proved that the identities of these two people were indeed from the fairy world. Since they want to cooperate with the immortal envoy, after the two are settled down, Liao Su and Jian Mo will ask them what to do next. In fact, to rely on the temperament of the sword demon, it is enough to ask these two people to go out and kill the void beasts, and kill those void beasts with a particularly strong breath one by one, and the remaining monks in the spiritual world can also deal with them. The only ones that are strong are those who are strong, and one of them is likely to destroy a state. However, the first order issued by the two was to convene the leaders of the first-class forces to come to Lingzhou to concentrate on the discussion. The sword demon's first reaction when he heard this order was to run out of the defense formation with his sword and slaughter it outside, which greatly eased the pressure faced by the monks in Dangxian City. Under the call for siege, I believe that it will not take long to solve all of them, and Dangxian City will be united and will tide over another difficulty. Guyao, Qi Changjai and others heard the words conveyed by Master Su, their mouths opened wide for a long time and couldn't close them, they looked extremely stupid. He packed out the best palace and invited two immortal envoys to stay, and offered the best spirit tea, spirit wine, and spirit fruit in the Alchemy Alliance for the immortal envoys to enjoy, but even so, he was disliked by the immortal envoys. Guyao had a headache. Listen to Guyao felt uncomfortable when they belittled their master's alchemy technique and criticized their alchemy alliance. Why did these two come to Dangxian City so coincidentally? He didn't think it was a good mission at all. Do you really want to invite them over to discuss matters? Now that void beasts are rampant everywhere, and people have to be sent to Pill Immortal City to discuss matters, I'm afraid there will be complaints from all parties, Guyao said while pressing his eyebrows. I'm afraid not necessarily. Some people yearn for the immortal envoy. I'm afraid they are eager to come and see the immortal envoy. Let's pass it on to the first-class forces in the states according to what they said only sent these two envoys. Will there be other envoys? Transmigration, First-Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 550. Both Liao Su and Guyao, of course, hope that another wave of immortals will come, and it is best if they belong to different forces, so that there will be competition. But it would be bad if they were on the same front. Thinking like this, the Dan Alliance immediately took action, conveying the orders of the Immortal envoys to the first-class forces, and contacting all parties to see if there were any monks who claimed to be Immortal envoys. The first-class forces in each state received this order, leaving aside their thoughts for the time being. Another wave of Immortal envoys did arrive with the two of them. Although they traveled through the same space passage, they did not arrive at the same place. Wenfan and Genyan belonged to the 7-star Immortal sect, while Bigo and Jianyang belonged to the Chanqi Immortal section. The place where they landed happened to be located in Dongzhou, near the destroyed first-class sect. Seeing the messy scene, the two of them just raised their eyebrows. They knew the strength of the Void Beast. As long as the Earth-level Void Beast was enough to bring great trouble to the spiritual world. In the Immortal world, there are sects destroyed by the invasion of the Void Beast, not to mention the low-level space like the spiritual world. Huh? I sense the breath of Bai Bing Qi. Could it be that there is still a Bai Bing Qi in this spiritual world? Go, and have a look. Even in the Immortal realm, the Bai Bing Qi family is a force that cannot be underestimated. The two people who were initially disapproving of the spirit realm, now let go of their contempt. The Ice Chi is completely wiped out, otherwise sooner or later, the White Ice Chi will fly into the fairyland and inform the situation here. Instead of offending, it is better to show kindness. In the future, the Bai Bing Qi clan in Immortal realm will also record their affection, which is of great benefit to them. It is precisely because of the special status of the Bai Bing Qi clan that their reception of Immortal envoys is very different from that of Dang Xianken. Bai Yun, who lives in the Bai Bing Qi clan, has always been in contact with Guyao, Dang Xianken. I've been there several times, so I turned around and sent a message to Guyao about the arrival of the Immortal envoy. Guyao, who received Bai Yun's message, suddenly stood up. He and Qi Changjai were both in the Alchemy Alliance. The Alchemy Alliance had a special large-scale communication device to communicate with the states. I thought I would get news from Bai Yun. Another wave of Immortal envoys have been found. They are in the Bai Bing Qi clan in Dongzhou. The other elders were also excited. Sure enough, there was another wave of Immortal envoys, and they asked about the situation of that wave of Immortal envoys. But Guyao only knew that there were Immortal envoys appearing in the Bai Bing Qi clan, and the rest could not be explained in detail in the communication. Liao Su said, "Tell us the situation here, that is, the Immortal envoy of the 7-star Immortal sect under the Xianhua Palace is becoming a guest in the Dan League, and will invite the first-class forces from various states to come to Dan Xiancheng to discuss the need to kill the Void Beast." Thing. Okay, Guyao nodded in agreement, and sent the message in one thought. Bai Yun's eyes widened, but he didn't expect that there was still an Immortal envoy going to Guyao's place, so he turned around and ran to find the Patriarch. The Patriarch is entertaining two Immortal envoys. These two treat the Patriarch Bai very politely. Those who can become Patriarchs generally have a relatively high bloodline level, and such Bai Bing Qi will also be valued when they go to the upper realm, and focus on training them. The growth rate will also be faster, and the future achievements are not necessarily lower than them. Although the Immortal Emperor forcibly opened the space passage leading to the lower realm, this type of space passage has great constraints on the monks who enter it. The disciples of the lower class. Of course, Bai Jun couldn't break in. There were guards outside the living room, and Bai Yun anxiously explained his purpose. Before he went in, Bigo and Jianyang heard the words 7 Stars Immortal Sect and Xianhuan Palace. The two looked at each other. Needless to say, they were two guys from the 7 Stars sect who came together. Let him come in and tell me what the two Immortal envoys of the 7-star Immortal sect want to do, Bigo waved to the outside. The Patriarch nodded to the guard. Bai Yun was a little timid, but he still stood up and walked in. It was completely different from when Guyao met in the small town. Now he is much more confident, because he has become stronger and has confidence. The patriarch nodded to Bai Yun and asked him to answer the envoy's question. Bai Yun bowed to the two immortal envoys and said, "The two immortal envoys in Dangxian City asked the Dan Alliance to convene the monks from the first-class forces in each state to go to Dan. Xiancheng is discussing important matters." Bigo slapped the table sharply, and his temper became a little more irritable. "Okay, these two bastards, they came here to pretend, where did they put us by doing this? If they really succeeded, wouldn't the credit go to them in the end?" Patriarch Bai's eyes narrowed slightly. There was the 7-star Immortal section. The two of them belonged to the Chanqi Immortal sect, who didn't listen to what he said. That is to say, the positions of the two are not the same. Now there is a conflict? Of course, he could feel the attitude of these two immortal envoys towards him, and they were somewhat polite. How could he not know what happened to the Babingchi clan? There are people in their upper realm. No, they are covered by demons. But Dan Xiancheng is different. I am afraid that the life of all the alchemists in Dan Xiancheng is not very easy at this moment. Patriarch Bai doesn't mind reaching out and pulling a pill alliance. It is said that Bai Yun was also sent by the ancient alchemist. The ice attribute pills they exchanged from the pill alliance are also of good quality. Let's not talk about the situation in the fairy world. Still have to live in the spiritual world. Two immortal envoys, since the immortal envoy of the 7 stars immortal sect asked us to go to Dangxian City to discuss matters, then we can't be absent. The void beast destroys my Dongzhou, and the monks of my Dongzhou and the void beast have an inseparable hatred. The sky-level void beast that was raging in Dongzhou was killed by Bai Bingqi's supreme elder, who joined forces with other demon cultivators. Now the outsiders and demon cultivators have joined forces to fight against the void beast, an unprecedented unity. Stand up. The two immortal envoys in Pill Immortal City are too high. Patriarch Bai has already learned the general situation through Bigo and the two of them. So who are the two of them worthy of stepping on the head of the ancient alchemist and his Taoist companion? Although most people are very weak, Patriarch Bai has a high opinion of this couple. Humans are so strange. Although most of them are weak, every once in a while there will be times when their talent and strength are not under them. Monk. Bigo and Jianyang glanced at each other, and the two nodded in agreement together, but they couldn't let the powers of the spiritual world be at the mercy of the two people from the Qixing Xian zone. When Patriarch Bai summoned other demon cultivators to set off together, Bigo and Jianyang were even more satisfied. They didn't expect Patriarch Bai to understand their hearts so well. Among these demon cultivators, most of their races have a certain status in the upper realm. Some of them have a high bloodline level at first glance. These demon cultivators gather together, but they are not weak. The two laughed heartily, just waiting. It must be very interesting to see the faces of Wenfan and Genyan when they see these demon cultivators appearing together. It is best to record them with a photo stone and let everyone have a good time when they return to the fairyland. Moreover, the Patriarch Bai not only notified the demon cultivators in Dongzhou, but also notified the Fengzhou side. Dongzhou mostly has animals, while Fengzhou prefers birds. After Guyao and the others received Bai Yun's reply, they were more reassured, especially Bai Yun's description of how they entertained the immortal envoy. These immortal envoys are not unscrupulous in the lower realm. So they dealt with the two immortal envoys and did their best to serve them, while waiting for the arrival of monks from various states, especially the wave from Dongzhou. All parties in Dan Immortal City also had some differences because of their attitude towards the immortal envoy. Some wanted to get close to the immortal envoy to fight for some face. Maybe the immortal envoy missed something, and it was enough for them to use it, especially the matter of ascension. Some monks tried to take shortcuts. After all, the catastrophe was unpredictable, and how many monks were wiped out under the catastrophe? Some people also found that the immortal envoy did not move after entering the Alchemy Alliance. Except for the first time he killed a void beast, he was served in the Alchemy Alliance. Then, Such an immortal envoy came to the lower realm. In the end, is it to help them fight against the void beast, or is it for enjoyment? It was enough for Guyao and other elders to deal with the monks who came to test them. Later, Guyao became impatient, so he simply sent the monks who were the most enthusiastic and most suspicious of the Pill Alliance to the place where the envoys stayed, and let them it's good to go and serve the ferry. These monks are simply inexplicable, thinking that the Alchemy Alliance deliberately cut off the connection between them and the immortal envoys, and monopolized the benefits given by the immortal envoys. In fact, hell, the immortal envoys didn't give anything at all. In the end, both Guyao and the elders of the Pill Alliance became the hands-off shopkeepers, and they had no choice but to do nothing about the status quo. While waiting like this, the monks from various states came one after another. The Dongzhou group could have arrived earlier, but they swayed all the way. When the other forces were almost there, they set up the guard of honor and entered the territory of Lingzhou. Guyao, who received the call, hurriedly went to ask the immortal envoy, the two immortal envoys. There are two other monks who claim to be the immortal envoys, who entered Lingzhou accompanied by the spiritual world monks, and they asked us spiritual world monks to greet them. What? There are also immortal envoys. The monks in the spiritual world were shocked when they heard it. Yes, they were personally accompanied by Bai Bingqi's patriarch, Guyao explained. Bai Bingqi, Wenfan and Genyan, who were originally gnashing their teeth, were taken aback, and then they scolded Bigo and Jianyang for being so treacherous in their hearts that they actually ran to find Bai Bingqi. They didn't expect this spirit. There is a Bai Bingqi in the world, otherwise how could the two take the lead? What other monsters are there? You didn't report such an important situation to us. Wenfan glared at the monks in front of him displeased. This. The cultivator who was stared at by the immortal envoy was under pressure and couldn't bear it, and almost knelt down with a soft leg, the immortal envoy's status in the fairyland. No matter how low it is, it belongs to the ranks of immortals, which is fundamentally different from spiritual monks. Let's go out and have a look, Wenfan said unhappily. Are the two Bigo and Jianyang here to show Ma way for them?